Okay, this is the beginning of the first turn of the first scenario of the Fate of All. And before we get started on the order of play, sequence of play, I wanted to quick show you what you could possibly do. I don't know if this, I didn't say anything about this as being intended, but let me pull this back and show you. I mentioned that Crete was down here, and we're only supposed to do map A for the scenario. I'm not going to do this, but I suppose you could do this. If the first fold, if you leave it like this, you can see that lines up very nicely. And then Crete is at the that southern island there. You can see Krete. So you could set it, and this does not take up that much more room. So if you wanted to, I suppose you could just put this together, because they do talk about Crete's alignment, but I don't see it as really being relevant for this scenario. So the first step in the sequence of play is the Fate step. And in this scenario, the only way you draw a card is if you roll a 10, and zeros are 10 in this game. So we'll roll for that. Close. I got a 9. So no Fate card. Means there's only going to be a 10% chance each turn. And let's see, 12, and how many turns we have? 9, I believe. So 21 turns. The chances are that you'll roll twice during the game for the Fate cards. Bribery step. I don't think Macedonians are going to bribe any province right now. They're going to use their talents for supply, creating supply, and there's going to be a supply route that or a shipping route that they'll set up. And I think that the Persians are going to need their talents for recruitment. So no bribery, no revolts. The next one is taxation, which is only January. Maintenance is only January. And then the recruitment step. Okay, this is the important one for the Persian. And let me see if I can explain how this works. I pulled all of the Persian force pool units. Here we go. Down to this corner just to show you what's available and how you would go about recruiting. The first thing you have to understand is that obviously each of the counters, the units, will cost treasury, and there's a very specific amount for each of the units, and what kind of unit what class of unit, and then how many size points you're looking at recruiting. So the phalanx, hypaspalists, hoplites, heavy infantry, to raise one or raise a unit, every 2 size points you're going to have to pay 1 talent. And I've got some of those here with the hoplites. Oh, sorry for the shakiness. And there's 4, and they're each 2 size points, so they'll cost 1 talent each. I'm not going to go into each of the categories, but that's how that works as far as cost. The other part of this is you have to place them in the recruitment area. And now you're looking at the different shades, because there's different provinces that these can be recruited in. And the biggest issue is, yes, the Persians control all these provinces here, but in order to recruit a unit, you have to place it in the correct province, in a town, and it has to have a leader. So as you can see, there are leaders here, 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 up here, and I think that's it. One of the issues the Persian has is in recruiting right away at the beginning of the scenario is that these 4 cannot be recruited yet. Now, recruitment does happen every turn, or it can happen. So in order to get these units recruited, the only place they can come in map A is up here. Let's see if I can get close enough. This Sesamos. There's no, this is the Paphlagonia. That's where these brownish earth-colored units can come from. So there's only one place they can recruit. Notice this is not here. This is not part of Paphlagonia. That's actually part of the Hellespont Phrygian. So in order to get these units into play, you're going to have to get a leader up to that city. So that's one of the things Persians have to, and there are 2 light cavalry and 2 light infantry units, so they're not nothing. But we'll have to think about who we might send up there. But it is going to take, might be a turn or 2, because you remember a leader can move on their own, but it's they get 30 movement points each turn to use for activities. So I decided we're going to recruit these hoplites and this medium cavalry. Let's zoom in. We'll recruit these 2 light cavalry. Now you can recruit half or units that have a step loss, so to speak. So you can do flipped, and the reason for that is because I think this costs 1 talent for every 6, so I can't pay for. I don't think you can keep track of half, so I'd have to waste a whole talent on 2. So I'm just going to recruit the step or the half unit here, and then all of these, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, these are all 1 talent altogether because they're 8 steps and they're light infantry and skirmishers. Actually, these are all skirmishers. The light infantries I can't do yet because of the restriction on recruitment. So then it's just placement, and I'll figure out where to place them. One comment too. These are mercenaries, this light greenish, light olive green, and they can go anywhere. I think it's west of hex row 33 or column, so they can start anywhere in here, any of the controlled provinces. So we'll get those set up and come back to that. All right, I did some adjusting here where I have the force, or the force sheets. A little easier to take a look at the different armies. And then you can see what I did for recruitment. Basically all the units were eligible because the mercenaries are a big part of this force, and they could be recruited here. So basically the Aegean is what they would call them. The Aegean forces can come in any of this area here. So what I did was create an army with the recruitment that more or less matched the Macedonians that are going to be coming around their south coast and then onto the little peninsula here to this point, and possibly threatening the first city. And I figured that because after taking a look at the supply rules, one of the things you have to be careful about is that even, and I mean, it makes sense, but it just, you can't forget about it. But when you're moving units by naval movement, you're still going to have to pay for supply after 10 movement points. And that means you're going to have, you can't, I don't think you can forage while you're traveling. You'd have to land in a province. I'm going to have to double check that before I do the Macedonian turn. But a great thing to look at is actually this strategicon, and they go into some samples of play and marching and doing the foraging and whatnot. That's an excellent thing to read either before or after you've started play. I like to sometimes start trying things out and then go back and look at a sample of play like that and then see where I made mistakes, and I just learn. I think it sticks better when I make mistakes, and then can fix them after the fact, since this is just a solitaire game. So if I'm reading it right, you would have to have supply loaded onto the ships as well as your combat units. So I don't know if I want to do that. And if you go cross country, you can forage. These are friendly areas, and it shouldn't be too hard getting supply that way. And I know that in the sample of play, it's kind of nice how they show you how to set up a shipping route. So I could send, this is a friendly city here, Sestos. So I could set up a shipping route to here, pay for some talents to be shipped. So once they arrive there, they'll have some supply points to utilize. Anyway, this is Persian turn. So the first thing to decide is, do I send this army here? And I think I'm going to, because I don't expect he's going to do a lot up in this area. It wouldn't make sense. Everything is down here, so that would be a roundabout way of attacking. So just figure out a direct attack and defense. So we're going to move this army to here. That'll be our first step. I should know that I'm skipping over some things that I'm just not going to be doing as the Persian player right now. All this administrative phase, we don't need to do any of those. Breach, plunder markers, etc. And then faction 1, who is Persia, which is a good thing, otherwise Macedonians could invade, take over pretty fast. It would be easy. So they did their recruitment, and now there's no sieges, naval assignment. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have sea shipping. We'll just go right to the march, fight, and die. Basically, that's the movement of armies and leaders. Okay, let's see how this movement and supply check operates. So, oops, I'm going to switch this technically. This should be Army 3. So I decided I'm going to leave one skirmisher here, not so much to garrison, but because I don't want to go over 30 for the size point total of the army. because it's every 10 size points you consume a supply point, and that includes fractions. So if I had went to 31, I'd actually waste a whole supply unit on just this unit. That's not worth it. So I'm going to just take the 30 size points. I should also mention one thing that can be very confusing. There's 3 acronyms that use SP. SP for size points, SP supply points, and also strength points SP. So most of the time they're going to refer to size points, but not always. When you're in combat, you have to think about strength points. But anyway, watch out for those SP nomenclatures. All right, so this is a 30 size army, and they led by a leader. I think he is this guy, I can't even read that. Arcides. And then maybe the camera doesn't like to focus on that font. So it's led by that one leader, and they're going to take this route here to get to the city. So it's going to be, I won't show the chart, but trust me on this one. That's 1 for planes, 2, I gotta double check something here. Yeah, the size, okay, so it's a 21 to 80 size army. That's 2, 3 plus crossing this river is 1.5 extra. So that's actually 4.5 now. 5.5. Each of these forest hexes are 3. So that's 7.5. So he hasn't had to check for supply yet because it's only at 10 movement points. And then going into here, which is also forest, and they're not in the city, so that's over 10.5. So they have to check for supply, and here's how that goes. You have to. I don't have any supply points. I didn't requisition any. I don't have a baggage train with supply points stored, so I'm going to have to forage. And now you're going to be looking at, we can zoom in, these little numbers here that are outlined in yellow. And this army actually traveled through 2 different forage areas, this one and this one. So you have to figure out where did they spend the most movement points, and you probably can guess it's going to be this one because they only did 1, 2 movement points here. So the majority was there. That's where they have to forage. So you first look at the forage number. That's 6. Hasn't been depleted yet. And then you have to decide, are you going to send out any foraging cavalry? Now, as you can see here, the more cavalry you send out, minus the raiding cavalry, if they're within 2 hexes, there aren't any there. There's no enemy cavalry. So I have 6 light cavalry that I could send out, so that'd be in the +4, +6. So if I roll the die and get any of these black plus numbers, that will add to the forage value. So let's just do that. So it starts at 6. Oh, I should also say it's April, so the forage value is down to -2. You can see there. So it's actually at 4 because it's April. Crops haven't been grown yet. So I roll the die. I get a 7, which is good. That's +2 to the forage value, so it's actually back up to 6 normal. If there was some rate, actually, you can even lose some cavalry even if there aren't any enemy cavalry involved. Perhaps the locals didn't appreciate getting raided for food, so then you'd, if I had rolled a 6 or any of these numbers, then you would lose 1 size point of cavalry, light cavalry. Okay, so we're good to go. It's 6 supply points. I need a supply point for every 10 size points. So I'm going to need 3 supply points here. I should have enough because I have 6 possible. I'll use 3 up. And this is the number one thing you'll be looking for in order to change the depletion level of an area that you've foraged. And you have to have all 3 of these. The current depletion level is lower than the printed forage value. Right now we're at 0, so that is valid. Foraging army has a size of 10 or greater, that's valid. But then C, supply points consumed, which we're only going to do 3, are greater than the printed forage value, which is 6. So adjusted by the forage modifier. Oh, okay, adjusted by the month's forage modifier, which would be 4, so it still would work. So I only consumed 3. Forage value is going to be 4 in April. So the depletion does not go up. So the army's happy and we're all good. Then we actually don't have to do this, the final supply step yet, because we're still doing the marching with all the units. So at the very end, it doesn't matter whether an army or units have moved or not. They're going to be checked for supply regardless. So if you move, you're going to end up having to check for supply twice. Okay, next move. I want to note there are only a few units that can get, but every unit counts. So I'm going to try to get a leader up to that northeast coast where Sesamos is, so I can recruit there. But then I have to decide who's going to do it, and I need to get these units into the western part. I've also got some a naval unit here with some light infantry and a leader. This is actually the best leader I've got, and I don't see a big threat of them coming down here, at least right away. So I think we'll move or transport. Let me think about this. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. First thing, this leader here, 5th Redates. I'm not going to move this light infantry cavalry group. I'm going to send him up to recruit up in Paphlagonia. One thing I don't think I've mentioned in the other videos yet, this is called the Royal Road, and it's not like this really great superhighway, but it basically makes the movement a little bit easier. You still have to count the terrain that you're in, but if you're on the road, moving from one road hex to the next, it will reduce the cost. So if you take a look here under the leader column, because he's just going to be moving by himself, you'll look at the red numbers. So if I move into a rough or forest, it's going to only cost 1.5 instead of 2, etc. all the way down the line. So, by the way, these are mountains here, and you can't cross the mountain hexside at all. So this is just the rough terrain. So let's move. That's forest. So that's 1.5, 3.5. Now notice, if it seems weird that I would go boom, boom, because that's where the road is connected. If I did this, it would actually cost me 4.5. So by doing boom, boom, that's only 3.5. Okay, 3.5. Oh boy, that's going to be tricky getting to. 3.5. 4.5, 5.5. Well, instead of you watching me count, let's move them and then I'll show you where I ended up. All right, this is after the Persian moves. I left these 2 light infantry down here just in case. I'm not sure if it matters a whole lot, but just feels better to have something down because they can come down through the coastal area with ships. I moved Al-Zaidi, Atazes. Boy, the Persian and Greek names are fun in this game. He was over here, and they moved to here. They didn't have to check for supply because it was less than 10. Now notice you don't have to check if you're moving a 5 or less size force. You don't have to check for supply during movement. Only at the end if they're not in a city. And then I moved this leader to try to get up to the recruitment city. He can't get there in 1 turn. 5th Radades. It's in the wilderness up in northern Turkey or whatever. So recruitment is going to be 2 turns away. He'll be able to reach there next turn. And then he can, if he wants to pick up that force and come down. Now I could have the other thing I did was bring my best leader up to this city to join that army. I think we're going to put this unit inside the city. Yeah, the army will be outside. This ship will be here, and my best leader will go with the army. Army number 3, he'll take over. I think that's it for Persia's moves. That's the best I can do. I'm sure there's better moves, but that's what I started out with. Tried to make the most of recruitment and then getting units into that area where Macedonia is bound to invade. So then we're on to the Macedonian Turn. Okay, it's the Macedonian Turn 1, and this is, I know why I'm already liking this game, because there's a lot of little puzzles to figure out. I will say this, the rules are pretty clear, pretty straightforward. It looks like everything is dealt with and explaining and making sure that something wasn't left out. You must take things literally. I noticed there's been a lot of BGG activity questions, and Fabrizio is really great about answering questions. And a few things to think about here is the force is about to, embark on the invasion. And at first I thought, well, we can get some supply points in with the army and then move down and do things down there. It's not that simple. First of all, the naval units cannot be more than 15 movement points away from a friendly naval or a port. Now, this is friendly, Sestos is friendly, so I could technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, could get into this area here without taking any port right away. But the problem is I don't have supply to start. I can't requisition supply until the supply step. So before movement happens, I don't have supply except through foraging. And I can move naval units if they're 5 or less, and I don't have to worry about supply or attrition that way. But one of the issues is here, this is a ferry hex. So I could get the army into position at Sestos to go across this channel. But in order to ferry, I'm going to have to get rid of that ship or do a blockade, which I might be able to do. I have no idea, and I will tell you right now, I glanced at the Strategicos pamphlet, Strategicon pamphlet. I did not look at that in detail. I'm kind of, maybe I should look at it in detail before I do that, but I make decisions. But I'd rather discover on my own what I'm doing wrong and what I could have done better. It's fun to work out these puzzles. Another note about naval combat, I'm kind of doing stream of consciousness here, but it's all related in how you attack this first turn as the Macedonian player. These are open water hexes, and naval units will suffer attrition for every single hex they go through that's open water, which does make sense in this age because they did not have open water navigation down. They needed to stick to the coastline. So that's not really an option. Now, the one thing I did glance at, they set up with the strategy booklet or the sample play booklet, they set up a transport or a shipping way between Sestos, I think, and here, which is fine, but I'm not worried about getting supply here. I'm worried about getting across and attacking that army, and I have to have that open in order to get across. So I'm going to move the army first and get the attrition done. I'm leaving one, or the supply step done. I'm leaving one here because that's 21 is bad, both for being a fraction of 10, and also 21 is where you hit the movement points are greater for an army that's moving that much. So we'll move this army to Sestos and do that first. So it's small enough so each of these are 1, 2, 3, 4. It's only one extra because of the size of the army. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now I have to check. I've got light cavalry. I have only 3. They're a little short on cavalry. That's something Persians have. I only have 3. And they're not too, yeah, they shouldn't affect this, I don't think. So 3, it's a 6 area, subtract 2 for April, that's 4. And then we'll roll on the foraged, or the cavalry, foraging. Rolled a 6 on 3, that's an extra 1, and I didn't lose any oops. I did lose 1 size point. Cavalry, great. That's a full cavalry unit. That's gone. He's gone. I think that I have to check. It might go into the force pool. You can rebuild it. I'll check that. And then, I just realized I did not do the final supply check for, well, actually that's not, yeah, you do have to do that for each side. Let me quick check that for the Persians. Yeah, everybody was fine as far as supply, and I didn't deplete any area, so we'll go back to the Macedonians. So I did lose it. We go up to 5. We're going to need 1 for every 10, so we need 2 supply points. So that does not deplete. So we're okay there. And then the rest of the turn they'll move into this hex here across the channel from the Persian army. And then the only other thing you can do is move naval units, and I'm going to if I move 2 with this leader, I think I pulled aside some leaders to use. I don't know where I put them. Yeah, where'd they go? Okay, I'm sending 2 ships with Amphoteros. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And they're going to land here and blockade that. And then I'm going to send the other one with Callus, leader Callus. And he's going to be here. So no, they will be able to ferry because I can do this blockade. I have to check on blockades here. All right, that's the end of the Macedonian turn. Moved a fleet to here, moved 2 fleets here with a leader. The main army's here. The foraging went fine without any losses this time. And no, this is under blockade. Naval blockade, not land blockade. So I can ferry across here for a certain number of movement points to attack this army next turn if I chose to. They cannot go across. They could have done an interception. I didn't do that because they did have a ship to ferry, get them across. I'm not sure how that would have affected the battle, but that's the way it is now. So they're kind of maybe this will be anticlimactic. I mean, technically, I don't think so. But we'll see how the fighting goes next turn, because they can retreat. They're obviously not going to be annihilated. I hope the first turn. They're a decent sized army, so I think it's fairly even right now, except possibly for leaders. But they can retreat back into this area if they need to, but they're going to have to be careful. So so that's the end of that turn, and I think I shouldn't have any other thing to take care of. Final supply check, yeah, we did that. I did find the inside city markers, as you can see here. They don't really necessarily need to be inside the city, but this one is need it because there is a naval unit that's technically in port, and then another combat unit that's inside the city. So it can only hold 10 size points. It's a small town, so. All right, that's the end of first turn. We go on to May.